welcome to Programming for Beginners. This is Bittersweet. Today we're going to be building a game together because that's what we learn coding for, right? To build games. We'll be building the world famous game of rock, paper, and scissors. And along the way, we'll also be learning about the basic programming concepts of control flows and functions. So let's begin. Alright, so first let's create a new file, save it anywhere that you like, and I'm going to name this rock, paper, scissors.py. For this game, we will be playing against the computer, and there are three possible moves. So let's name it moves equal to a list of the three possible moves, which are rock, paper, and scissors. So first, let's let the user pick a move. So user choice will be equal to input. Input basically means that we will be getting the input from the command line and from the keyboard input, and we can also supply some kind of prompt. So let's say choose your move, rock, paper, or scissors. Okay, so after getting the user's move, we will also pick a move for the computer. So computer choice will be equal to, we will randomly pick one of these three moves from the list of moves possible. And conveniently, there is a random module that we can import to do this for us. So let's import random. To use this, we can call random dot choice, and we pass in the list of choices, which is moves. Now that we have the computer's choice, let's actually print the computer's choice so we know what the computer chose. Computer chose, and here we want to actually print this variable, but this variable we need to combine it with the string somehow. And the way to do it is we can use the curly bracket, and inside the curly bracket we can put computer choice. And in front of the string we put an F to indicate formatting. This will format this entire string by adding this variable inside the string. And this is what we also call string interpolation. This is actually one of the ways that we can do string interpolation. In this case, is probably the easiest one, is by using this F notation at the front. Okay, so now we have the user's choice and the computer's choice. We need to compare them to see who is the winner. So we can do so by using the if statement. So if some kind of condition is true, we will execute some kind of command. So here, if the user choice is equal to the computer choice, and notice the double equal sign here, this is a comparison sign, and this is different from the single equal sign, which may not be intuitive at first, but the single equal sign is an assignment sign. This is assigning the value to a variable. Whereas here, the double equal sign, we're comparing the value of two different variables to see if they are true or false. So if they're equal, it'll be true. So if user choice is equal to computer choice, followed by the colon, in this case, the game will be a tie. So we want to print it's a tie. So now there are two more scenarios. The scenario where the user wins, and the other scenario is where the user loses. So let's first handle the scenario where the user wins. And we can use the keyword elif, which stands for else if. Else if some condition is true, the user wins. And there are three possible conditions for that. And the first one is if the user choice is equal to rock, and the computer choice is equal to rock, scissors. If the computer choice is scissors. Or, so this line is getting a little bit too long. I actually want to start a new line to continue writing this. So the easiest and the safest way to break a line is by using the backslash notation. So now we can safely start a new line. And or if the user's choice is equal to paper and the computer's choice is equal to rock. This will also be the user's win. Or if the user's choice is equal to scissors and the computer's choice is equal to paper, would also be the user's win. So if you remember from your math class, whenever we have some and or in the same sentence, it can get confusing which one gets evaluated first. And to be safe, what I like to do is whenever you have a combination of and ors, you can add parentheses to indicate which one should be executed first. So in our case, we want to evaluate the ands first. So I want to surround these by parentheses. The ones surrounded by parentheses will be evaluated first, and the ones outside of the parentheses, which are the or statements, will be evaluated second. So don't forget the colon at the end. So else, if these conditions are true, the user wins. So we want to print you won. Lastly, we want to evaluate the conditions where the user loses. So we can use the keyword else. So the entire if statement begins with if and ends with else for everything else. And you can optionally add the elif in between, and you can add as many elifs as you want, but you don't have to. You can just have if, and you can just have if and else if needed. So else, we want to print you lost. So this completes the logic for our game. Let's Command B to build this first to make sure we don't have any errors. And you can see that it is successfully built by printing the first line for asking the user's input. And let's actually open up our command line. So terminal for Mac or command prompt for Windows. Here, I want to show you how to run this Python file inside terminal. The way to do it is first we need to navigate to this directory where our Python file is saved. We can do so by using the cd keyword. And to find the directory, if you don't remember the entire directory, you can open up Finder, navigate to the folder that this file sits in. At the bottom, click Copy Lesson 4 as path name, which is the path for this file. And if you don't see the bottom section here, you can go to View, Show Status Bar, I believe. Show Path Bar. Show Path Bar here. So copy that, paste it in here, press Enter, and now you're navigated to the directory where this file sits in. And in here, I can type Python 3, followed by the name of this file. So if I start typing R and I press Tab, it'll autocomplete the file name for me if this is the only file in the directory. Let's press Enter. And you can see that our prompt is showing up asking for the user's input. So whatever you type in here right after this input, right after this prompt, will be saved as an input into the user choice variable. So here, let's pick something to, let's pick our move. So let's pick paper. Press Enter. The computer chose rock, so we won in this case. And we just played this game for once. What if I want to play this game multiple times? We can do so by using a function. A function is basically a block of code that you can run or execute multiple times from different places. The way it works is that it takes in some kind of input, does something with that input, and creates some kind of output. And of course, the input and the output could be empty or optional. To define a function in Python, we can use the keyword def, which stands for define, followed by the name of the function. So let's name this function new game. Parentheses. So inside the parentheses is where we put in our inputs. In this case, we actually don't need any inputs. So we'll leave that empty, followed by the colon. And next we want to move this whole block of code to live inside this function. And to do that, if you're using Sublime Text as your IDE like I am right here, you can go to File or Edit, go to Edit, Line, and Indent, or use the shortcut Command closing bracket. You probably want to memorize this shortcut because you will probably be using this a lot as you learn programming. So here, use this shortcut to indent the whole block. For Python specifically, the indentation actually matters. Now Python knows that this whole block of code lives inside this function. For some other languages, you may see like a curly bracket notation, and you put everything inside this curly bracket, and the indentation actually doesn't really matter that much to the compiler. So here, let's define a new function called start games. For this function, we want to take in one input, which is the number of times to play this game for. In here, we want to call our new game function to start a new game for exactly number of times that's defined here. To do that, the first way we can do that is by using a for loop, which is a type of control flow statement. A for loop works like this. So for I, which is a new variable that we define in range number of times. So the range is a Python function where it takes a number and produces a list of numbers starting from 0 up until num of times, up until the number that you provide here, but not including this number. So for example, if number of times is equal to 3, the range function will produce integers 0, 1, and 2, which is 3 numbers. So it doesn't start from 1, remember that it starts from 0. And for I in range means that for I starting from 0, I equals 0, I equals 1, I equals 2, we're going to execute the code inside this for loop. So we will execute exactly number of times. So here, inside this for loop, we want to call new game. And lastly, we want to call the start games function by passing in the number of times we want to play this game for. So let's say 3. Save this file, come back to our terminal, and press the up arrow to run the last command that you ran. Press enter. Now we've started a new game. Let's pick rock this time, and I lost. You can see that a new game immediately started right afterwards. And let's pick paper. And for the third game, let's pick paper again. And at the end of the third game, you can see that our program executed. We're back to our command line. Another way that we can do this is instead of using a for loop, we can use what's called a while loop. So let's comment this line out. You can comment by using the command /. Or you can manually type in this pound or hash sign. If you remember from our last lesson, this stands for a comment, and it will not be executed when we run this program. So here, let's use a while loop. A while loop is another type of conditional statement where while some kind of condition is true, we will execute the code inside this while statement. So here, what we want to do is we have the number of times we want to run this game for. And every time we run it, maybe we want to subtract 1 from it. And as long as the number of times left is greater than 0, we want to start a new game. So we can do so by actually defining a new variable called number of times left. Initially, this will equal to number of times. And while the number of times left is greater than 0, we want to start a new game. And don't forget, at the end of the new game, we want to subtract 1 from number of times left. So number of times left is equal to number of times left minus 1. And in Python and some other programming languages, there's a shortcut for doing so. Instead of saying this line, we can also do number of times left minus equal to 1. This means exactly the same thing as number of times left is equal to number of times left minus 1. So let's save this and run it again to see if it works. So press the up arrow to come back to our last command, enter. So let's pick rock again, and let's pick paper this time. And you can see that after the third game, the program exited. So yeah, that's it for our game. Congratulations for building your first command line game, if this is your first time building one. The for loop and the while loop are probably the most commonly used conditional statements for developers. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's mini lesson. Thank you for tuning in today's lesson, and as usual, you can find today's code in the GitHub link provided in the video description. And if you like today's lesson, make sure you hit the subscribe button for the latest video updates, and I will see you in the next lesson.